Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And what a great day, and what a great way to start off the day with creative conversation around improving our lives, interesting things, topics, and everything else. And today, Amy's in the room. She's becoming a pirate. How are you, Amy?
I'm excited. I'm finally a pirate. Yay!
Yes. I love creating pirates on a regular basis. So it's like, now that you're part of the pirate community, you know, we have a Facebook group where I share things, because a lot of interesting things take place after the mic is off. You know, it's like,
I bet.
There's a lot of conversations that take place after the mic is off. So also, for those that don't know you, kind of give a brief overview of, you know, who is Amy and why are you here? So
that's a great question. That's very existential. No. So I'm Amy Blaschka, and I am a social media ghostwriter, and I help leaders craft their stories so they can communicate and connect better. And that obviously takes place in social media. I like to say that we use social media for good. I'm all about positive use of social media and spreading that goodness around the world, rather than using it to sell or to berate or any negative connotation.
Sure.
I've been doing this, oh my gosh, this shelter at home. I've been doing this for like almost a decade, working at home. But prior to being doing strategic writing, I was actually in travel and tourism for about a decade, running a destination marketing organization, and about 5 years after that, consulting with I know it's very people, what? But it's all about service, that industry. Yeah. And it's all about ensuring an exceptional experience. And the job that I had was really about telling the story of a destination. And before that, I was a branding consultant. So again, it's telling the story of a product, a place, you know, all these things. So there is this common thread that weaves together. Before that, I thought I'd be a filmmaker. That's what I actually studied in school. I was a visual arts major in film and video. And I had a minor in communication. So I've always loved to write. But the idea of working collaboratively with people to bring a story to life, that's really exciting. To me, that tangible result is having that, telling that story and really kind of showcasing that and shining a light on sort of that unique element of, now it's a person. It used to be a place. It could be a can of soda, a box of cereal, whatever it is. It's that sort of the jazz. Yeah.
Yeah. I always say you can tell your story with words, images, audio, or video. You know,
or all of them. Yes.
Or all of them. Exactly. And that's the whole point of what we're doing is, you know, we're telling stories. I mean, so you've been a storyteller your entire life, and essentially in some way, shape, or form.
I was the little kid in the, shy kid in the corner, drawing and writing stories. That was me. Yep.
Yes. And so now that we're actually going through some challenging times here, I know that there are going to be numerous opportunities to tell stories around this. And I think more now than any other time in history, if you have a kind of a thought process that you may want to change or remove things from your life that are not really causing you joy or creating a fulfillment in your life, you know, maybe it's time that you kind of release some of that stuff and look at some other opportunities. Because even as we go through this process, there are opportunities out there. You know, I think a lot of companies are realizing the fact that remote workers are viable. You can still operate your business as you work. And, you know, you and I have been remote workers for years in helping people online around the world. And it's not unheard of to do this. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit and share some ideas that you're kind of cultivating in your mind. And I know that you just released a Forbes article and you're producing content all the time. So what are some of the ideas that are coming to the top as we're going through this process?
Well, I think there's a couple things first. I think before it's like, okay, do this. First, you have to acknowledge that this is happening, because a lot of people, I think, are resistant to change. And I won't say that I love change. Most people are okay with change as long as they're the ones driving the change, right?
Correct.
So that's sort of the first tip: is acknowledge that this is it's not just a new normal now, but I think what happens, this sort of line in the sand between pre-coronavirus and post-coronavirus, the world, huge shift, right? And
Yeah.
how companies and how everyone does business will forever be changed. So if you're just saying, in a week or two or month or whatever it is, I'm just going to go back to doing same old, same old. I don't think that's the best course of action. I think using this time, especially because we all seem to have time, right, is to think about how you can pivot, how you can move into sort of what's next. And, I wrote about this morning, about reinventing yourself, and this idea, and this is not mine, but I love it. Pivot or perish. That's David Breyer's, and I'm giving him a shout out because I love that.
Yeah.
I loved it so much I put it on my
Yes.
whiteboard.
David's a good one to follow. So
He's tremendous, but that idea, and this, he's mentioned it, this was well before anything going on now, but still that idea that you need to really take a hard look at what's happening in your environment. And as you alluded to, is if something is no longer serving you, you need to be able to let that go, because what you need to do is make room for what's next. And if you're still carrying all that baggage and the way you've always done things, and we've always, that's not going to serve you. You need to let go of that and then be open to sort of what could be. And this is the time that innovation is really thriving, because you have those constraints. Like, well, you can't go out and you can't do this, and the last time we had sort of this recession, a bunch of new companies, were founded. And then one company in particular had already been around a while, but they moved from sort of this DVD delivery service into what was something kind of funky and new, streaming.
yeah.
And now Netflix is huge, and it actually now is a savior for many people during this time. So,
No kidding.
Tiger King. And as we keep going through this is the opportunity to really pause and think about what do I want? How do my skill set and my offering, how does that align with sort of the demand? What can I see? What is a new way to think about what you've always done? You have some common skill sets you have to think, but it's just applying them in a new way. That's the innovative part, right? Use your creativity, and then how can we tweak this even just a little bit? Because that's where you're going to shine. And then if you're the first person to do that, you come up with it, guess what? You just created a new category, a new product, a new service for something that didn't exist pre-coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
So
It's ironic though, and I've been guilty. I've been in and out of corporate organizations, during my careers, and multiple different careers. And there have been times though, Amy, that I was really associated with my job, as part of my identity, even though it was not in my best interest.
ooh,
And it wasn't until I had extracted myself out of that I understood that it wasn't in my best interest.
mhm,
It was like one of those things that I had to remove myself long enough to understand this, like, this is really not what I need to be doing with my time. So if people can actually understand that this is, a time of reflection and self-awareness, and,
mhm.
be able to really kind of think about those things and discover something that, like you said, in the space between what is and what could be, innovation takes place.
Mhm.
So let's think about what that looks like for our skill set, for our interest, for our finding the joy in the moment. So
Right.
it's really a time for discovery. And I know that
Mhm.
there's, there are tragedies and there are things that are going to be challenging for all of us. And I think that we can use this time to draw each other together and maybe make a more, like I always say, kindness is cool. So
Yeah.
let's work together on that focus.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I think it's funny that, this technology, all the stuff that you use all the time, and all the video content, all this, it's amazing that suddenly, because we're all stuck in our houses, that you forget a basic human need is really to belong and connect and wanting to do that. And I think if there's any silver lining that's coming out of this, it's that people sort of that wake up call that we're people. And before you're a CEO, before you're a marketing guy, before you're whatever, you are a person. And, people need each other, and especially right now. So now is the time to come together now. And I've seen it. I mean, I'm sure you have too, that it is overwhelmingly people are good, and they are like, what can we do to help? How can we help you? What can we, and even if you're listening right now, you think, I don't have anything to offer, you're wrong. Because even just sharing your own story, your experience with somebody, that is enough that might, it might spur some new thinking. It might give them that little boost of encouragement or something they might need. So it's simple, right? It's just, and it can be a video chat. It can be a message. It can be some other form, some way to kind of connect. And even just small acts of kindness.
Yeah.
Wow, that is enough to keep someone going, particularly if they're dealing with a family member or somebody, who's been, that has, the COVID-19. So it's, there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot for people to handle. And anybody that says, I'm great, I don't believe you.
Talk about the heroes, in the medical community, the first responders, the people that are essential workers that are out there on a regular basis, the restaurateurs that are keeping a distance and still serving the community, and the people that are delivering food and services and, the supply chain, all of these individuals that are out there keeping things moving forward for us on our behalf. And the majority of us, need to stay home, need to avoid contact. And the stories that come from that are really, think of the social media impact and how it's evolved in the last 30 days. It's really amazing to watch some of the stories evolve, and how people are live streaming more and more now. And it's kind of crazy because I've had the pirate broadcast for a long time, and I actually created the Pirate Syndicate to help other people that are not as technical and don't have the time or the inclination or the interest in learning the technology. So it's like I could produce your show and put this all together. And this was before this thing happened. However, I think it amplifies the idea that we have stories to tell, we have things to share, and there are things that are evolving all the time. And if you can imagine the opportunity and how you can apply your skills to that opportunity, it's endless. It's endless.
Right. I think I don't know, if everybody realized the power of a story. There's always, storytelling. But the reason that stories work is because they communicate with emotion and they connect people. So, when we talk about storytelling, it isn't so much you want to sell, but if you have a story that can relate, or your customer has a story to share, or these are the things that bind you together. And stories are what people remember, right?
Yeah.
When you touch somebody with emotion, when you're sharing your experience, that's what people will really glom onto, and they really get. It's not just, it's just another, they're pushing their products or their services, whatever. When there's a story that you share, it's a narrative. It's a completely different form, and your brain processes it differently. So that is a way that really people can capitalize. And particularly, everybody is going through sort of an unprecedented, crazy time right now, and their little slice of life and how they can share and relate to others. And how do you use this? Or even, like you said, social media, the use of social media. Everyone's been on social media, but now everybody is in front of their computer, right? And on social media. And how can you use that to be creatively sharing those stories and connecting others and bringing them along and kind of creating something new, like we were talking about earlier? So it really is. It's a time, if you choose to see it and use it in this way.
Yeah.
This is a time of great creation, reinvention, innovation. I'm always somebody who likes to see the possibilities. So I would encourage others to do that as well. It's why not? What else are you doing?
Exactly. Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't we want to do this, sir?
Yeah.
So I also want to give a shout out to some of the people that are and have been creative. I love collaborating from Wendy. She's talking about giving creative feedback. Gabriel started podcasting and just started this live streaming thing, and he's just gone full force and creating some shows. And so if you haven't followed up with Gabriel, follow Gabriel.
Yes.
Dorcas Mathau, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Lori Knudsen, thank you so much for being here. Arcot, it's the end of your day, so appreciate it. Billy Gerald from Houston. Lionel, Vicky O'Neill, great point. People are okay with change if they're in control. That's important to understand, is when you feel like you have control, even if you may not necessarily have everything under control, it's kind of one of those things, right? Mm. And so there's all kinds of Bez, Latasha, Sherry Lawley, Michael Evans, Jimmy Clem, go team. I want to kind of shift gears here, Amy, because I know that you've been storytelling and you've been writing about stories and things like this. And not everyone is prepared or ready or, to hire a ghostwriter possibly. However, they still have something that they want to get out. Maybe we could share a little bit of a few ideas that people can use just to get started, and maybe journaling or, writing things down and how to structure it. And maybe you could share a little bit about social media.
Okay.
Stories versus, writing a book or, creating a story for Forbes like you do. So,
okay. Well, I think the biggest thing with social media is there's a short attention span, right? By nature of what it is. So whether
clear and concise is the key, right?
Exactly. So actually there are three things that are sort of my basic tenets. And it applies to social media, but it applies to any sort of form of communication. But it's clarity, as you mentioned, right? You have to be clear. And with social media in particular, you want to stick with one message per post. Okay. The second thing is consistency. So when you are posting and you are talking about things, and maybe you decide you're going to put a video out there, or you're going to post an article or an update, you want it to be consistent with the way that you write should be the way that you talk. That there shouldn't be like suddenly this formal academic language used in an update, and then if somebody were to meet you in person and like what? The dog thing where they tilt their head. You want it.
Yeah.
You want it to really be consistent to your voice and who you are. And then a discipline is really about staying in your wheelhouse, because if you try to tackle too many topics, you'll confuse people and they won't come to associate you with anything. If you want to, you'll never see me, and I use this example, I have nothing against blockchain, but you will never see me writing or posting about blockchain or cryptocurrency, because that is not in my wheelhouse, right? Yeah. So if I suddenly start doing that, either slap me upside the head, or you probably would be very confused.
Are you okay?
What's happening with you? Because it doesn't make any sense. So what you really want to do is you want to make it very easy for your audience to understand who you are, what matters most to you, what you're about, and definitely how you can help them. Because I think when we use social media, we have an opportunity to serve versus sell. And I think that's really important. And believe me, I have done this, and without selling this, I get all of my clients through social media. Okay. I've never done an ad. I've never done this, but it's really about showcasing your value, who you are, what matters most to you. So, what's really important to you. And I think right now we all have an opportunity to share those types of things. And it needn't be fancy or complex. If anything, I would err on the side of being short, because what happens sometimes, and think about what you want to say before you jump on video, before it doesn't have to be scripted in terms of please don't read, but don't ramble. on and on and on, because you will lose people too. And it'll come back to that. It's not making it easy for them to understand, well, what's your point? So
Yeah.
be clear, be consistent, and have some discipline. Those are really the top tips. And be brief, I would say, especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah. The best advice I had was years ago. I was teaching safety, actually. And one of the executives said, Russ, cut the embroidery, get to the point.
That's great.
I thought, and I always remember that. It's like, okay, if I can say it in half as many words, I'm better off, because I have a tendency to want to ramble. I have that ability, and it's like, just cut it off. Just say it and move on. It doesn't have to. The whole thing doesn't have to be filled with words. So
that's right. And just because you have 1,300 characters for an update, you don't have to use them all. Or just because I can go on and I can record 10 minutes of video.
yeah.
You don't have to. And sometimes that's the most challenging for people. I will tell you that they think, oh my gosh, how could I? But I need to talk. I need to do this. It's just,
well, I think
go through it.
Was it Mark Twain that wrote the statement? If I had more time, I would have made it shorter. I would have made it better shorter.
Yes. I do think that at least when I talk to my clients, sometimes that is the most difficult thing for them. They're like, oh man, how do you do that? How can you be compelling and concise?
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's the point. That's what we want to go for. So
that's what makes it beautiful. Some of the best concepts are made in just simple language. And I love quotes. I love the idea of taking a concept and breaking it down into just one small statement that just expands the concept and the idea. And it's just taking that, it's just boiling it down to its essence. And it's really, really key. And social media is, we have the attention span of, I don't know, not even a squirrel, not even a fish anymore. It's like 3 seconds in your Twitter feed and you're gone. Right. And so it's really important now more than any other time to really focus in on what you want to say and what you want to do. And for me, Amy, I wasn't gifted with the idea that, I knew what writing and, storytelling was all about, because I'm fascinated with so many different subjects. And that's why I wanted to bring interesting people in doing interesting things, because I can just kind of discover. It's like, you drive through the warehouse district and you see all these companies out there with the brand on their company and their building. And it's like, what do they do? I want to know what they do. It's like,
you're curious. No, I get that. Yeah.
And a lifelong learner. And that has the downside of, sometimes focus is one of the challenges that I have to pay attention to. So, but I really enjoy the fact that I love your work. I love what you're doing. And I just wanted to share you with the community here and talk about what's going on in the world of social media and everything else. So, so talk a little bit about where you see social media evolving to in your line of work, and how we can actually leverage some of these things. I know Medium's been really big, publishing on LinkedIn has been popular. There are some platforms out there that have, evolved, and, now it's like TikTok, where it's, 10 seconds of whatever you're talking about. So it's really it's a broad landscape. And so how do we think through the process of where to publish, how to publish, and where to tell stories at? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to me, it seems like you first think about your audience. Who are you trying to speak to? Who are you trying to reach? And then think, where are they spending their time? Because it's easier if they're already somewhere, it's easier to go to them and where they're already spending their time than it is to try to attract them and take them away from one platform to where you decide you want to be. So when you think about that, like for me, LinkedIn is, although I'm all over different platforms, LinkedIn is my primary platform, because that is where I'm reaching my existing clients and potential clients, and where they find out about me, or Forbes or something like that. So that's my audience, but that's not always the case. So you may be someone who's like, well, I'm trying to reach teenagers, or I'm trying to reach, I don't know, a very niche set, somebody who loves golf, that, does the, so you got to think about
Left-handed
where,
golfer from Minnesota.
yes, that's it. So you got to think about where are they, where are they congregating? Where are they spending their time? And then think about creating content there because they're already there, and tailor it to them. If you're not sure, of course you can dabble, you can do some things, but keep in mind, there is a short attention span, so you want to keep it brief and concise. If you're on something like Twitter, it's unless you happen to see that in the feed, it might go away. TikTok is great. And I get the other part of this is, decide, are you somebody who's comfortable with video or dancing or doing something crazy and silly? And is that part of who you are and what you offer? Is that you're a fun, sort of not super corporate or structured, but no, TikTok might be for you. Yeah. But I mean, it's funny. My kids won't allow me on TikTok. My husband jumped on, and it makes our youngest daughter go, oh, yeah, sort of like, please don't do that. But you see that there are brands, you see that there are people coming over there, but that's right for them. So I would say experiment, but think about, if you want to make it easier on yourself, think about where those people that you want to reach already are. And, but I will tell you, because of what's going on, people are exploring, the audience is exploring new places to go to. So even if you think, that would never be where I would be, don't be so quick to discount it. Maybe check it out, try some things and see what happens. It's a perfect time to test, right? Yeah. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? It's like, well, it doesn't work. Okay, then we move on. And that's what's really nice about social media is it's pretty brief. So even if it tanks, something else has just replaced it in the feed. You're okay. You can try somewhere else.
Another thing that I think is really important for people to understand is, and it's different for every audience as well, is the frequency of posting. I post on a regular basis. I mean, I do a show every day. So it's, the idea that, okay, I'm going to promote someone like Amy on the show, and then I'm going to promote the fact that she was on the show, and I'm going to, I want to highlight your skills and your ability, and people to learn and, know who you are and how you help. And that creates a lot of content. Right. And it's on, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, is across a lot of platforms. And then by the end of the day, it's a podcast, it's a post, and it's a transcription of the show that's on russjohns.com. Mm-hmm. So that's an abundance of content that I'm putting out there. And not everybody's willing or able to do that. However, I think it's really important for us to talk about frequency of typical social posting intervals for the individual or a company. And I don't know if you've had, I mean, you've been doing this a while, so it's probably something that you have a few thoughts on. So
I do. Well, I used to post 7 days a week, and then I backed off on the weekends just because I feel like I needed to have a natural boundary. And it doesn't mean that I'm not poking in there and checking things out over the weekend, but I'm not actively I'm not actively posting, but I am posting Monday through Friday. And I'm doing that regularly because it's one of these things. Again, it's when you are the frequency, when you are regularly posting, that is really what makes the difference. And regularly can be different. What regularly does not mean is I'm going to post this once, this 1 month, and then I'll let 3 weeks go by and maybe post twice. And if you're very irregular, people they don't know to look for you. They don't know that there's something. When you're doing it, you give yourself a higher likelihood of people actually discovering a piece of content. Even if they miss the first one, they'll get the second one, and or maybe they'll find you on another platform and then realize, oh, she's also on LinkedIn. I'm going to see, and then they look or they connect or they follow you, whatever. So when I'm not someone who thinks that you need to post 8 times a day. Right. I know there are people that post at least 4 or 5. I've seen that personally, and then I do this for a living. It would exhaust me. I have other work I need to do, but I will tell you. And you mentioned something. The way that you can also go about this is to repurpose content for the different, social media platforms, right? So you mentioned okay, well, we might have a transcript of this and podcast. So you have a visual, you have verbal, you can do things in different ways. I will often take my Forbes article, which is a longer format, and distill it down to a post. I add a visual to it. So there's something, I may do a video about it. So there are, multiple ways that you can hit that, because I think the other thing that's really important about content is people consume content in different ways.
Yeah.
So some people prefer a video. You know, for them, it's easy, quick. And by the way, with videos, it's nice to have captions too, because not everyone can always listen to them because maybe their kids behind them, and it's really early in the morning, or that, they just want to be able to do this. So
Sherry says she's guilty of starting and stopping.
Everybody is, Sherry. Don't worry
Yes.
about it. First of all, don't beat yourself up, okay? Because the thing is, you can always start again. You are never the only person that's done that, okay?
Yeah.
And there will be times, you're human, that you're gonna miss a day or two. You're sick, you're on vacation, you're whatever, but it's okay. I think the idea is that the more that you do this and you kind of build it into the practice and the day of what you're doing, people will come to expect that from you. And if that is your goal, that you're trying to reach a certain audience, then you want to make sure that you're delivering on that promise that I'm going to serve you with some new content.
It's like if I quit showing up, if I all of a sudden just stopped showing up, people would where did you go? Where
are you?
Yeah. Where's the pirates? I just love this concept of building in systems to make it easier for yourself, kind of create a workflow for yourself and create some content. And I'm a fan of batching, you don't necessarily have to post everything. You could create something on a Saturday afternoon when you're just relaxing with, a beverage or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any distractions in your head, and you can create a bunch of content. I mean, video for me is easy because I just turn the camera on and I go and it's live. So it's like, I got to be there. It's kind of like part of the equation. However, it's not for everyone. And I understand that. And so multi-purpose content is really valuable to think about and consider going forward too. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. The batching content, I do the same thing because I'm better when I'm focused. Most of us are, even if we don't want to focus on one task at a time. And if we're, I did this yesterday, I always write my Forbes articles on early Sunday mornings, early, just so it's like, that's my best writing time. I'll get that done. And then if I'm creating something with visuals and everything, I can do that almost at any other point of the day, but I tried to do that. So I did that, took a break. Family took a walk. We did some fun things, came back, and it was like, okay, everyone's kind of doing their own thing. I can spend some time and a couple hours, like just kind of this. So then you have stuff that you can do. And that's also important because you can get overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, what am I going to post tomorrow? What am I going to post? Right. And when you get into the habit of doing a bunch of them in advance, you won't have to. And you can plan out and go, oh, okay, I've got my content for the week or next week or whatever, or most of it. And what else do I need to do? So you can kind of fill in the gaps as you need to, so it doesn't become this dread. You don't want it to ever be a dread. No. That defeats the purpose. You should have some joy in because what you should be posting about, honestly, is your personal life, like drawing inspiration from what happens in your day-to-day life, because you can have a universal theme, but you will be the only person with that story and that experience. And that's the way to kind of universal hits on many things like belonging or overcoming adversity, but how did you do it? So that way you have your own way to go about it.
Yeah. And it's, I get to do this. I don't have to.
He's right about that. I get to do this. I don't have to do this.
Shift
reframing.
Yeah. So Amy, I could talk. I mean, I love the conversation we're having today, and I know for the sake of time and everybody's effort, it's like I know we have to move on, but I want to at least leave people with the opportunity to have you share at least some words of wisdom as we go through this process and something to think about for the week. And if you had something that you want to leave with someone and plant the seed of inspiration, what would it be today?
The best advice that I've ever received career-wise was stop hiding. And by that, it's really, and anybody hearing that, they have a response probably just like you did, because so many of us either aren't doing exactly what we really love and what really, our heart's desire, and it really speaks to our soul and who we are, and for a variety of reasons. But now is the time. You stop hiding. Just let sort of who you are come out. It's scary, but I will tell you, once you embrace and step into who you really are, everything changes. And that's owning your story, owning who you are. And I guess what? People will connect with you even more because you are living in that truth and you are being really you. And that's not fluff. And that's not, I will tell you from personal experience, it works. And this is why I'm doing this show today. And I'm a writer and not kind of stuck back doing organizational audits and things that, yes, I'm good at, but wow, I'm really miserable inside. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your gifts, your message, and the great conversation on the Pirate Broadcast. You're now a pirate, so thank you. So we have a new pirate in the works. And so everybody that joined in, there's a ton of people that have joined in. Fred, Costa, Kenyatta, Stop Hiding, Lori, these are individuals that are going through different phases, different shifts in their life. And we're here to offer some, at least inspiration, if not some entertainment at times. So thank you so much for being here, Amy. And as everyone knows, kindness is cool, smiles are free, and you enjoy the day. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.